inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Hey, everybody, it is Wednesday, October 14th. I'm Emerson Collins.
And I'm Del Shores.
And you're listening to
The Del and Emerson Show. Straight talk.
Real gay. It's the middle of October. How did that happen?
The middle of October, and that it's here already?
Yes.
Or that it's as hot as fucking L.A.?
Well, that too. It is hotter than Satan's taint outside still. Like, I'm not even in a tank top.
What is wrong with L.A.? I just came from Atlanta, and it was nice.
Well, it just
Little
makes
rainy.
me nervous because it's like 100 degrees, but then the day before Halloween, it'll drop to like 40. And everybody's slutty Halloween costumes will be all angsty and like nipply because like we need to be naked.
I wish it were hot again.
It's true.
I just figured it out.
What?
October 31st. That's where Homo Hell is. It's on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood.
Oh.
That is Homo Hell.
Yeah, it's not been as cute the last couple of years because
No?
not as many people are dressed up. When I first started going out, when I first moved here, it was like 90% costumes and 10% looky-loos, and now it's like 30% costumes and 70% looky-loos.
I have not gone in a costume for
and
a
I
while.
miss it.
You always have a great costume. I cannot wait.
I have come up with my costume. I'm not telling anyone what it is because first of all, it's brave for me. There are more clothes involved in this costume than my last 8 Halloween costumes combined.
Yeah, because usually you don't have
Because
any
usually
clothes
I go
on.
for like slutty and smart at the same time, but mostly naked.
Last year he wore a belt and some Bibles.
That was
the
it.
Bible belt.
I wore boots.
Oh, in boots. Okay.
You know, those count. They were like half the wardrobe.
So Emerson, you had an amazing week.
I
And I'm
did.
so proud of you because you won a very big award.
I did. It was very exciting. I found out on Sunday evening through text message, hilariously, that I won a Desert Theater League award out of Palm Springs. It is their esteemed body of awarding all of the arts in Palm Springs for my performance in Buyer and Seller with
Which was
Coyote
brilliant.
Stageworks.
Brilliant
So I won
performance.
Best Actor in a Comedy Professional. I also tied.
You tied.
Yes, and I wasn't going to tell people this, but whatever. I get the trophy too, so who cares? I tied with a guy from The Odd Couple, and from all accounts, and I didn't see it, it was an incredible production. But I have to think it was a little bit awkward that when they were, because I feel like they must have announced, like, there's a tie. And then if they said The Odd Couple guy first, do you think the other Odd Couple guy was like, well, I'm going to be the other one, and like I ruined it?
Do you know if they said him first?
I
or-
don't. I have a voicemail from the
You weren't able
artistic
to attend.
director.
You were working, so
I wasn't. And I realized in watching on Facebook afterwards, because of course we know a ton of people in Palm Springs and was reading about the awards and everybody that was there, they let people give speeches. Because I watched the other actor from The Odd Couple give a very sweet speech.
Let's do a speech. Let me. Okay, and the nominees are blah 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 blah. We don't care about him. Blah 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 blah. We don't care about Odd Couple. Blah blah. Odd Couple. Blah blah blah. Emerson Collins, Buyer and Seller, and the winners are blah blah blah. Odd Couple guy. Speech. And Emerson Collins for Buyer and Seller.
I want to do one of those like fainting and tripping up the stage like Jennifer Lawrence, like it's a production number. But in all seriousness, since I didn't get to be there, it was an incredibly special experience. It was an incredible growth experience for me as an actor, and I really do want to take a minute since I couldn't be there and thank, first and foremost, Chuck Yates and Coyote Stageworks for having me. They're an incredible theater company in Palm Springs. They've been going through a lot of changes, and so this was the only show they were able to do this year while they changed houses. And so they put sort of the hands of their company into my one performance this year, and all of the designers and all of the crew were incredibly kind and warm, and the audiences were amazing. And Larry Rabin, who was the director of the show, is an incredible man. He's an incredible artist. He was incredibly generous in sharing this together because when you think about it, putting together a play with 8 or 10 people on stage and telling everyone what to do is one thing, but it was just me. And so for him to look at what my ability is and for us together to craft these 6 performances that I was doing all of, and him to be patient and challenge me and push me and give me ideas, and it feel like a great collaboration because we just spent 5 hours a day together for 3 weeks. So I absolutely would not have been able to do it without Larry, and so I'm incredibly thankful to him. And his husband David Engel did all of the graphics on the screen.
Who's a great actor.
And Chuck Yates as the artistic director and boss of all of us. I know, but there's no peanut gallery in a speech.
I forgot.
I would also like to thank Miss Rollins for our 5th grade pageant. I would also like to thank Patricia Custer, my high school drama teacher. Like at some point, because that would be me. I'd be like, well, if y'all aren't going to play me off the stage, I'm just going to keep talking. I would also like to thank Del Shores, who found me in a play in Dallas and let me move to Los Angeles. and to everyone I've ever known.
Okay,
except for that
I'm
one
good.
person who's
I'm
terrible.
good.
Okay.
I'm good now. You said my
No,
name.
but really-
I was just waiting. If he didn't fucking say my name,
I was like,
I was walking out of here.
I was like,
But it was a remarkable performance, and I'm really excited because I only got to see like your last dress rehearsal
Yes.
because I had to go to Singapore.
I did a solo private performance. I think we talked about this when it happened. My final dress rehearsal, Dell was the only audience member.
And I literally missed my flight to Singapore because I got mixed up. But I'm glad I did because I got to see you. But you're doing it this next year in Laguna Beach, correct? Has that
Yes,
been
I am,
announced?
and it's really excited. I'm a part of the 95th season at the Laguna Beach Playhouse in Laguna Beach. They're an incredible house, an incredible company, and they came and saw it and loved it so much. They're bringing our whole production, so I'll get to do it again. They did. I get a trophy, but Chuck told me that mine was broken, so they have to make it again,
Oh,
which is hilarious.
well, you know.
I mean, they need to make it again.
Yeah, yeah, you
I
can't
want
say
it.
no super glue.
I might like put it on
No.
the hood of my car as a hood ornament or something. I don't know.
Well, it depends on the shape what you can do with those trophies.
Stop. And moving on. How was your weekend?
I had an amazing weekend. I did not even work this weekend. I just flew to Atlanta to be at Atlanta Pride to plug my upcoming show on November 7th for Joining Hearts. I marched in the parade. And, you know, I was really, one of the most exciting things that happened to me is that last week, and I'm so glad that this happened, we ran out of time and we didn't do one of our stories. And we were going to do a follow-up piece to Daniel Pierce, who we all know. Daniel Pierce he's of Kennesaw, Georgia, 19, and he was the boy whose that video went so viral of him being kicked out of his house for coming out. 1 year later, he was the Grand Marshal. It makes me emotional. He was the Grand Marshal of Atlanta Pride. He used $95,000 that his boyfriend, David, who I also met. I've got a picture of me and them, if you'll put that in the chat room. He started a GoFundMe, and they were looking for like $5,000 so he could just have a place to live. And it showed how amazing our community was because they rallied and they say, hey, we're going to send you to college. We're going to do this. $95,000. But you know what was so wonderful about what Daniel did is, you know, he did pay for medical bills, including cost of some hearing aids, but his parents dropped him from their insurance plan. And he then went and donated thousands of dollars of that $95,000 to Lost and Found Youth and a shelter for homeless LGBT children. And he began volunteering for that organization, and now he is on their board. I went to one of their events while I was there. Yeah, so big shout out. I think he's listening. He said he was going to listen today. Is he in the chat room? Say hi if you're in the chat room, Daniel. We're so proud of you. You are our hero, and it was such a pleasure meeting you at Pride and seeing what you've accomplished. And
that's the most amazing part. You know, I loved that we found this, and it was so funny because we found the story before even realizing he was going to be there. But it's such an inspiring story. You know, he's still a very young man who came out of a tragic circumstance, then sort of in front of the nation, because you never know that like the whole world's going to know your story, and that can be intimidating at a young age. And to see what he's doing, that he's on the board, and what a great leader he's being and helping other kids that might end up in a situation like him. Like, that's the best example of what the sense of community in our community can actually accomplish.
And what a person he is, what a strong character he is for taking that platform, taking that money, taking it all, and the fame. I mean, the crazy fame that he had so quickly. And I told him I wore this shirt when I met him, and I told him I wore it for his parents, and he loved it.
I love that.
So.
I know, and Dell showed that like there were like 4 or 5 different people at Atlanta Pride wearing our Bless Their Bigoted Heart shirts that we're both wearing today.
That's not him.
Oh, okay. And so I thought that was sort of amazing because about 100 people have picked them up. And I actually wore it on last night's episode of The People's Couch as well. So if anybody still wants one, they're still available at teespring.com/bigotedhearts. I relaunched the campaign because I still had people requesting it. So if you want one of our shirts, you can get it.
That's him. That's him. He got the right picture up. And yeah, get one of those shirts because they're really fun. And boy, besides 5 people that came rushing to me with the same shirt on, everybody said, where can I get that shirt? Where can I get that shirt? And, you know, there was so much good at Gay Pride. It's that in Atlanta, they do it right. It's Piedmont Park. It is just packed. People drive from everywhere. And yet there were those bigots there. I mean, they literally had the most appalling signs I've ever seen. They said, like, get AIDS and die. And when will you be wearing diapers? I mean, crazy, crazy things. But what was really wonderful was that this group had these kind of crazy balloons that they got in front of them, and then a wall of policemen. They just didn't want you to deal with them at all. Because I would have gone over there.
Yes, you would.
Talked to at least 2 of them and made out with 4 boys in front of them, but I didn't.
Didn't you post something that was like, if you want to come make out with me in the middle of a protest?
I did. I
Thirsty.
I was just, hoping for some affection.
No, just thirsting.
It was
Thirsty.
Oh. All right. Well. Again, Daniel, congratulations on everything and on a new lease on life. Okay.
And so last night's episode of The People's Couch was entertaining. It was really funny because we all watched it together, but we were watching the debate first, which we'll get to in a minute. But it was the first time I was like, I'm sort of annoyed that my TV show is coming on because I want to keep watching the debate because, I'm a political junkie. But it was a great episode. I was really happy with it.
It was good. I liked it.
It seemed like there was a number of people on Twitter who seemed to be sort of exhausted by the debate who were happy to switch over. And we watched Botched and Real Housewives of New Jersey and The Voice and Survivor and Madam Secretary and How to Get Away with Murder. So it was a fun little group of shows.
I love that part where that Teresa's calling in from jail.
Here's the thing. It was like a 90-minute episode, and she's on speakerphone for like 4 minutes. I was like, Teresa checks in. We could call it like Joe and the Girls or something. But I was like, Teresa...
They seem to be living well for what they did, all that fraud.
But it got awkward. I was like, I do not need to hear how they figure out their phone sex on that 300-minute prison phone
I was
plan.
scared they were going to show... And I was worried about that couch. I was going to grab a towel. They were going to have phone sex on his couch because he couldn't sleep in their bed. So sad.
All right. Well, we have news. It was a big week. Equality update. Really quickly. There are those 3 Kentucky clerks, she who will not be named, and the one we talked about last week. Well, the third one, Mr. Casey Davis, has now changed his policy against issuing any marriage licenses, and he will now issue them only for opposite-sex couples, male and female, not for same-sex couples. So bigotry is alive and well, and discrimination is going on.
I mean,
yet.
she went to jail. Are they?
Somebody has to show up and try to get one and get denied and then sue.
So there's got to be
there
more
has to be a
lawsuits.
process. So, and then in other more exciting equality update news, and I love this story. Republican Eric Schleien is out of New Hampshire, and he is bringing a bill to ban conversion therapy to New Hampshire in January. He said, "You can't convert people's sexuality. I think most people get that. I think our culture grows stronger when we're able to accept different people's lifestyles and treat people with honor and respect. I don't think that's radical." And I love that it's a Republican pitching it because protecting our LGBT youth. Well, and I think as we see in this election cycle, I think with marriage equality, we're seeing more vocal LGBT people that are conservative. I think we're seeing more conservatives come around since that decision. And I just love seeing a Republican being the one to step up and say that we want to protect LGBT youth from quack therapy.
Well, I've said it before, and I think the Republicans have to do something. They've just got to drop this issue because the nation is on our side now. There's 70% now think that marriage equality is the correct thing. So,
and if New Hampshire were to pass it, they would be the 6th jurisdiction in America to have passed a ban on conversion therapy. So slowly but surely working to that being a nationwide tipping point issue.
All right, well, let's talk about that debate.
The debate!
I mean, we've been waiting for this. It was a little, I mean, honestly, it was just a little bit of like, oh, who are those other 3 fuckers?
Mo, Larry, and Curly.
I'd say that and on the end, and that really hot one in the middle. I mean, I found shirtless pictures of him. I want him to, I don't even care what he has done. I want him to be vice president. I just think that he should be the choice.
Well, here was the way I felt about them. One, Jim Webb and his 10 minutes thing. I don't know. Have you ever seen the stage version of Cinderella? There's a song from it. 10 minutes ago, I saw you. I was singing it for the entire rest of the night. I was like, sir, we get it. You want to talk more. Nobody heard of you till tonight.
And then Anderson put him in his place. He said, stop talking about that and you could talk.
First and foremost, I ended up on some BuzzFeed BuzzFeed list for the like thirsty tweets about Anderson Cooper, and I'm not apologizing for it. It's true. But he, as a moderator, demonstrated how much the behavior and plan of a moderator can dictate the entire nature of the discussion. He came out of the gate swinging. Like his very first
Yes, he
question to
did.
Hillary was basically, "Are you a pandering hypocrite?" And then
Right.
when people didn't answer the questions, he said, "That's great. That wasn't the point.
That
This was
wasn't
the
the-
question." When people tried to interrupt him, he basically looked at them and went all Bianca Del Rio going, "Not today, Satan," and either shut them down or ignored them completely. And I thought, if he moderated the next Republican debate, and I really like Jake Tapper, I think he's a really smart guy, but this is the way a moderator can really, really drive the discussion.
I thought he
it
was brilliant. He looked great too. We got to add that to Skate Show.
But what's his face? Lincoln Chaffee. He looks kind of like to me, and I said this on Twitter, and I'll say it again. He looks kind of like the base wax mold at Madame Tussauds for like
Once
all
a
the old white
Republican?
people. Like for any old white man, the base they start with, and then they carve it from there. It's just a Lincoln Chaffee form.
But the worst answer of the night was that was my first week, and my daddy died.
I mean,
come on.
well-
Don't you want your first vote to be a good one? You don't want the one that you're apologizing for.
I understand that like as a terrible talking point, but his real point was 99 senators voted for this and 5 voted against it. So what I did was like went with my party because I had literally just walked through the door.
Right.
He didn't say it well. I mean, he's not going to win, but sometimes I think we go after people because he made that point about several issues. He was like, everyone voted for this. Everyone thought it was the right
99 to
thing.
1
like
at one-
on another one.
yeah.
And so it's sort of like, okay, are we saying like the entire Congress was wrong? I was a part of everyone. We all made a mistake.
But let's be honest. Number one on this side, Jim Webb and this, they were just like I'm doing right now. They were just bumbling and stumbling, and they just didn't feel prepared. The three in the middle did to me. And I honestly have to say that I have been aware, of course, of Bernie Sanders, but this was the first time that I really got to a feel for him, a real feel. I couldn't help but I kept saying, who does he sound like? Who does he sound like? And it was Larry David that I decided for a while, but then he's Gary Marshall. Gary Marshall has got to play him in the movie. It is the exact... Hey, what are we doing? I mean, it's the same speech pattern.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Hillary. I mean, because I thought she did great. I really did.
Definitely
She
thought
was so
she
presidential.
Did, I
and-
thought she did excellent. I was impressed with her command. I appreciated that she was aggressive without feeling like she was complaining. I thought when she put Bernie in his place on gun control, that it felt authoritative. It didn't feel like punching down. I thought it represented how well she's learned what the balance is for her in a debate since the 2008 debates. I thought it was strong and smart. I will say, because I'm still in like with Hillary and not in love. I liked her performance. I still am in the group of people that does feel like, as a professional politician, she does often change because that's what the prevailing feeling of progressives or liberals is. And so there's part of me that wants people whose core values are the same regardless of prevailing winds. And when they said, would your presidency be the third term of Obama? And she said, well, no, because I'm a woman. That's pandering and sort of insulting and a little bit gross. Because if the point of running as a woman is that it shouldn't matter, then it shouldn't matter. Then it doesn't matter that you're a woman and he was a man.
Right.
Like, that's a cheap applause line that I think is beneath her.
It wasn't as cheap as it was Jim Webb talking about who he was most happy to hate him, the person who shot him.
Oh.
I mean, let's just be honest.
Well-
I'm all for veterans and everything, but quit trying to just get votes like John McCain. I mean, come on. Let's see what the record is. Like, something. Just because you're a veteran and because Bernie Sanders was, a
conscientious objector.
Yes, I don't really feel like that applies here. I'm
Well,
sorry.
but I mean, I think it's relevant to people who say if you're so against war that you couldn't participate, would you be able to put
I
us into
agree
wars
there.
that are
I do.
necessary as the commander-in-chief? I think that's a
and
valid
I thought
question.
he answered that very, very well.
I agree. I think the really interesting thing is I think a lot of people were like you, not familiar with Bernie Sanders, his policies or his presentation style. A third of Democratic voters last night said, but prior to last night, didn't really know anything about him. So I think it was an opportunity for him to present a very interesting set of policies and philosophies that people had not heard before. And it's the reason, like, I like Hillary, but I love what he has to say about big government, about the money that billionaires spend in political action committees, how they determine what issues we vote on in Congress. He made that joke, not a joke, but he's made that statement about a revolution, and everyone else sort of chuckled. And I said, I think there's a lot of people on both sides of the party. I think on the Republican side, they're the people that are picking Trump, that really do sort of see that as kind of necessary. And I think he's going to speak to more people than I think the establishment thought last night. I think prognosticators thought Hillary won. I think she may have won in style, but for me, he won in substance. So I think it's going to be great and interesting to see them keep talking.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, here I did give her $5 more today. I'm up to $10 because I figure, I'm just $5 at a time as you win me over. My two favorite moments for me, and I'd love to act one out with you if you don't mind.
I'm ready. I'm prepared.
Okay. I'll get to that. I loved it when he basically just said, "Can we just shut the fuck up about the emails?" That's what I loved it when he did that, because a Republican would have gone after her.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And instead, he said, let's just put that aside and get to what we really need to do with this country. Love that about him.
Well, and I love that he came for the media about it. He said, can we talk about the issues that matter, the actual legislation that we plan to enact, the actual agendas? And it was representative of my genuine favorite thing about last night, because regardless of what you think of their policies, there was a demonstration across the stage of how you can disagree with someone that you also respect as intelligent.
Right.
There was very much a sense of, we are all very experienced and we don't agree on every aspect of the way that we should be moving forward, but we can respect each other in our disagreement.
Yeah, it was almost like you go, okay, it's not going to be awkward when he has to endorse her,
right,
or him, or what.
Yes.
That's what.
Or
I felt.
like, I'm going to take my toys out of the sandbox and go home,
because it's going to be awkward for Trump to endorse or someone to endorse Trump. It's going to be awkward because they've said such horrible things. So, favorite moment I think for both of us, I guess, was when Democratic contender Lincoln Chafee took the bait on a question from Anderson Cooper about the emails, suggesting that Clinton had done something shady as Secretary of State, and Lincoln Chafee, I'll play Lincoln Chafee. I think we need someone with the best and ethical standards as our next president. That's how I feel. Anderson Cooper hopped in. He goes, Secretary Clinton, do you want to respond?
No. I don't.
I wanted Emerson to have that one line because I knew that he could deliver it with the complete amount of snark. Drop the mic, walk off at that point. It was great. And a long applause from the audience.
And of course, related to our show, they did not get into LGBT issues last night. Hillary mentioned it in her opening. They did not address the Equality Act or trans issues. But a little bit of my counter to that is they do have 6 debates, and there are a lot of issues, and CNN did lots of polling on the issues people were most passionate about. They did at least finally address Black Lives Matter for a moment, campaign finance reform, citizen surveillance, Wall Street reform, the 1%, college affordability, a bunch of issues that haven't even cropped up in the Republican side at all after 2 debates. So,
well, I read an article quickly on Queerty. They said, are they taking us for granted, our vote for granted?
That's so annoying.
For me, it was, and I love Queerty. We use them, and we love you, Queerty. But that particular article, I was going, you know what? I mean, what's the alternative? I mean, are we really going to hop over to the side of hatred? Are we? No.
Well, and I don't think.
And how much have we gotten done?
And I just find that irritating. It's like there's still only 2 hours of debate, and they cannot speak to every issue that's important to everyone. And we represent 3 to 8% of the population, depending on the statistic that you look at. I would be disappointed and angry if at the end of 6 debates it had never been given a block of time. But like, it's exhausting when people are like, well, my one issue that's the only thing I care about didn't get talked about. Girl, that is not the way politics works.
Right. So we'll see. We'll see what continues to happen.
And of course, the Republicans were losing their mind on Twitter. Donald Trump live tweeted the thing. Mike Huckabee got in all sorts of trouble saying that we don't have a skin issue in this country. We have a sin issue in our country, talking about race, and then said something about he didn't trust Bernie Sanders as much as he trusts Bernie Sanders as much as he trusts a Korean chef with his Labrador.
Wow.
So the Republicans were still making fools of themselves.
Oh my God.
Without being on the stage.
And he's a Christian, a good Baptist preacher.
That doesn't seem very Christian, Mac.
Doesn't to me. Okay, so moving on, we had National Coming Out Day on
Sunday.
That was 19 years for me. I actually came out on Coming Out Day or around that time. I was inspired by an ad. I've said this before on the show in the Hollywood Reporter, or Variety, I think it was. And I wrote a letter to my parents and my brother 19 years ago and said, hey, guess what? I'm gay. And I have not shut up since. So
Be like, well, I know you came out of that closet carrying it on your back. But
to this day, I wish he had not sent that letter. No, my parents have both passed away.
Like, could he stop? The one point that I tried to make when I posted about it on Sunday, it's exciting and visibility is still important. There are still places in our country where it is not only a second-class citizen status for many kinds of LGBT people, but also dangerous. So coming out and being visible and standing up and announcing a label that doesn't have to define you, but that identifies you is important. But the flip side of that is everyone should still do it at the time that they are ready.
Absolutely.
As we celebrate and talk about the importance of it, that no one should feel rushed. That it's something that you still need to do in your own time for your own life to be happiest. Because I think people do better and do more when they arrive at the place of their own organic process.
But what an amazing time I've seen in the past 19 years. I mean, I saw Ellen come out on television. I see so much of this journey and where we are right now. I have to celebrate that because we're at a place that I never, ever thought we would be. So, hallelujah. Amen.
Absolutely.
Praise Jesus.
And to those of you that have come out, thank you for doing so. For those of you who haven't yet, for whatever reason, that is okay.
Yeah.
We will be here when you are ready.
And every week I get at least one letter on my Facebook with somebody struggling. And I welcome those letters. So write me on Facebook. And, I'm not a therapist, but I can always give you some encouragement. All right.
Yes. All right. Well, last Thursday or Friday, I guess, Justin Bieber's penis was released on the internet.
And it was released.
It was a paparazzi photo taken while he was on vacation in Bora Bora. Now, I have an issue with the gay community in our response to this.
What is
that
your
may
issue?
irritate some people. Well, when all of the celebrity phones were hacked, when Jennifer Lawrence's photos were released on the internet from the phone hack, there was an enormous number of people rightfully saying you shouldn't be looking at the photos. You're supporting and encouraging that behavior. It's a violation of that person's privacy. And gay men and many of the gay writers and bloggers that I follow were the loudest to proclaim that. The second Justin Bieber's photos were released, the number of tweets that I saw that were like, somebody text it to me, somebody send it to me, somebody say, oh, it looks good, oh, it looks good. All of this, that's hypocrisy. It's straight up hypocrisy.
It is. You're right.
You're
absolutely right.
It's either invading someone's privacy all the time or it's not. And I don't think we get to excuse ourselves because we don't want to look at Jennifer Lawrence's photos in the first place. So it's easy for us to say no one should be looking at it. But if one comes out that is one that would appeal to us and then we all go look at it, it sort of neutralizes our argument in that first place.
Well, I heard about it. I think I was in Atlanta. And I have to say that I heard about it. And I did not get my iPhone out and Google and try to find it. I did today because I told you I can't find it anywhere because I couldn't find it. I did justify me looking for it for two reasons. I go, okay, we're talking about it on our show, but also because of his statements and his dad's tweet. I mean, it seemed like they were okay with it, where Jennifer Lawrence and all of these others were not. It felt like that he was like, oh, what's, well, I was going to say the big deal, but, it was a big deal. So,
but here's the reason, and here's why I still think it's not okay. Like, people were happy with the photo. People were like, oh, it looks good. It's bigger than I expected. So, like, then we're like small penis shaming, or we're like shaming like growers, not showers, because like I don't want you to see like my just out in the cold. Like no, don't. That's not the photo I want people to see.
I loved it. I loved it. I saw comments that go, "It's not real. That's not real." I was like, "What has he got? Like some prosthetic thing? Dirk Diggler from Boogie Nights? Did he buy that on eBay? I mean, it's."
But his dad, who's disgusting, tweeted, what do you feed that thing? #ProudDaddy. And I was like, oh, I get it. It's okay because a lot of people thought it was like nice to look at. That shouldn't change our reaction on this side. And look, I am definitely guilty in the history. There's some guy from Below Deck on Bravo whose giant penis was released on Twitter and like people kept talking about it and I went to look. So like I'm not calling myself above this, but I do think we have to look at we shouldn't be able to excuse our own behavior if we're going to judge other, particularly straight guys, for like going to look for women just because we have a history of objectifying women. If we do the same, we're just as guilty.
We are. All right, moving on. Well, we were all waiting for it, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it much more. American Horror Story is what I'm talking about.
Good job.
See, you didn't have to save me, Emerson.
I know, you did it.
I sometimes go for 5 minutes and people go,
He'll start in the middle of a story.
Is he talking about? American Horror Story premiered. I couldn't wait. I was not disappointed. I was a little disappointed last season. It grew on me, and I watched every single episode. But there's so much. There is so much that the storytelling is so complicated. I had to keep going back a little bit.
Right.
I go, what did I miss? What you cannot get up and go to the bathroom in this episode. But I mean, in this particular, the way they're telling the story with the back and the forth and the flashbacks and the forwards and. But I loved Lady Gaga. I thought, you said it. You said she's going to be great, and she really was great. I love the relationship with she and Mr. Matt Bomer.
That is so like sex just pouring out of the television. And first of all, Ryan Murphy, my thoughts on the pilot were it was a great tone set up. I didn't really care about the people in the hotel yet because they waited to the last 3 minutes to give us any backstory. It was very like mood building. I loved Wes Bentley's side of the story. However, like
it's good to see him back.
I will forgive anything and everything for like Matt Bomer's ass being on television. There was more Matt Bomer ass than in both Magic Mike movies combined. So thank you. And he and Lady Gaga, like that is just so much sex oozing out of the screen. I am not mad.
And I was loving Kathy Bates. She's one of my favorite actresses, and I just anything she does is good with me.
And Cheyenne Jackson, so stupid hot and fully dressed.
Yeah. And there were, I read a few things like, oh, he can't act. He's a theater actor. I thought he was amazing.
Also,
I'm just like. Why do we want people to be bad?
Well, it's back to that thing of like our community does not love celebrating people in our community succeeding. We like Matt Bomer because he was already kind of super famous and he's like stupid hot before he ever came out. But people like Cheyenne Jackson, people that were out from the beginning, we have a harder time supporting.
It's true.
It's a continued example.
I want to say something, and I know that Ryan Murphy is not listening to our show, but I want to thank him for bringing a lot to the screen, celebrating the gay in a way that is fun and sometimes you think it's going to be derogatory because it's slasher in this, and I'm just thankful for him. I really love what he's doing.
I absolutely agree. My one caveat is you're going to need to explain the like gay gold dildo ass rape thing because like that was a lot of things.
Okay,
that was a lot. Like that was a lot. Like, I'm going to need really good reasons for, like, the creepy, melty dude, like, raping the obviously Queenie gay guy. Like, he's going to need to, like, I don't know, do it to some other, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, there's a little bit
yeah.
of, like, because there's part of, we do still sometimes where it's like, is that gross? Is that glorification? Is that what he deserved? And I'm shocked. Go for it. But I'm just saying, like, tell me more of that story because Max Greenfield, that was a lot, sir. That was a lot of things.
That was. Okay.
All right, flashing home.
All right.
I love this story, and it relates to the People's Couch because it's about a couch. The Valley Youth House is a homeless youth service organization in Philadelphia. And they want to explain the challenges and nuances of homelessness, particularly for young people, by dropping a couch on various sidewalks around the city and inviting people to sit and talk with formerly homeless youth. The campaign is called Couches Don't Count because many homeless LGBT youth and straight kids do not consider themselves homeless if they can couch surf, so they don't end up in the statistics. So the couch was donated by the Philly Furniture Bank, which supplies furniture and housewares to homeless people transitioning into housing. The Couch Awareness Campaign is for the benefit of the general public as much as for homeless youth. So I just thought it was a really great campaign.
I love
Obviously,
that story.
I'm obsessed because our show's about a couch and it made me think about that. And it's a great visual to bring attention because that was something I'd never thought of. When people say homeless, you think of like kids on the street.
Right.
Homeless also, like there are kids that bounce from house to house to house to friend to someone they met to someone they and that they're homeless but they're not on the streets and they still need a stable environment like Lost and Found in Atlanta. So it's a great
Lost
story.
and Found, yes, we got more on them coming up, but and then I like this story because I like what I love what this boy did. Dylan Settles attended the Woods Chapel General Baptist Church in Brooklyn, Arkansas until last weekend when the church officials sent the 20-year-old a letter scolding him for embracing the homosexual lifestyle and forbidding him to ever entering the church doors again until he begs God's forgiveness. We've got the letter in the chat room. It says, it has come to the attention of the church body that you have made it known publicly of your choice to embrace the homosexual lifestyle. And then the letter began before going on to state that the church board voted to remove Settles from the church's membership, kicking him out of the church. And Dylan said, I was in awe. I was in so much shock. I just couldn't read the rest of it. The letter went on to say that Settles is free to return if he only abandons his sinful lifestyle he has chosen and repents. He posted the letter on Facebook. This is what I love about it. He said, listen, I'm going to expose you. He posted it. I reposted it. Many people reposted it. I had over 200 comments just on my page to this boy because I said, let us tell him that there is another family out there, us, who love and adore him, and he's going to be okay. And what I loved about on my fan page is so many people from Arkansas took the trouble to find affirming churches for him, or to say, you know what, I go to this church, please come and worship with us, because they're not all like this. And we're working with Mitchell Gold now with Faith in America on the new Sordid Wedding movie, and Ty, the character of Ty, works for Faith in America, and that is Mitchell's big mantra, is that there are affirming churches, and we have to show kids like this that there are those who love you and you are welcome in their pews. So let's celebrate that he exposed this and gave more people options to, if you indeed want to worship. So I sent him a Facebook message. I haven't heard back, and I said, let me send you a video. It's called Southern Baptist Sissies. So I hope that he responds. And
wait, related to A Very Sort of Wedding, we forgot to talk about this before the show. Did you look up the winners on the post from yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Yesterday we posted on Dell's Facebook page just a fun little thing, because we're excited as we continue to work on A Very Sort of Wedding. We continue to have investors come on board with the lower investment opportunity. And if you're interested, hit us up at dellshores@me.com. We can send you an investor packet. But so we made a little fun little game of which of the ladies, and ladies in quotes, from Sordid Lives do you think would be the best and worst maid of honor for the wedding? Now, it's not a hint at who's getting married. It could be two women's, two men's, a man and a woman.
We're not telling. No, it's a secret. It's a secret. Everybody said, who's getting married? I go, no, I'm not telling you Atlanta Pride. No, I'm not.
And ask people to vote on the best and the worst. So who were the winners?
Well, who do you think was the winner?
Latrell
was not the winner.
Really? Lavonda?
Lavonda was the winner.
See, that's
hands down that she would be the best bridesmaid.
That's funny, because I go to, in that position, you need somebody, paying attention to all the details and everything, and Lavonda might be a little deep in that vodka and, forget a few things, just saying.
But Latrell got some votes, but not nearly as many.
See, I go to the
Lavonda.
practical. I'm if I need somebody back there, planning...
I think they wanted someone that could drink with the bride.
Well, they were worried about the bachelorette
party. They knew Lavonda would take them to the Rose Room in Dallas, and that Cassie Nova would give them shit.
And who did they say would be the worst?
They thought Juanita would not be
a
good...
That seems correct. I mean, Lord, she'd be the one to show up to the wrong wedding.
They were right. I loved it, though. If you go to my page, it's Del Shores Fan Club, and read them, because one guy, I forget his name, but he wrote he actually was writing dialogue and a very funny storyline that what would happen if Juanita were to be the maid of honor.
Yes, that is amazing. And we're going to keep doing things like this because we are excitedly moving along towards shooting the movie in the spring, but we are still looking for investors.
Yeah.
So
and we got two more last week, two more new investors. So we're very excited that we're moving upward. You can be a part of this journey for $12,500.
And so those of you that can't, those of you that like the post and comment on the post and share the photos, that helps us get out and find new people, new fans, and other places that don't know that we're doing this, although I don't know how they don't. So that participation is just as important.
Yes, please share.
All right, flashing on. I love this story. You may not know, Texas passed a law joining 8 other states to allow concealed handguns to be carried not just on private and public university campuses, but into classrooms, dorms, and campus buildings. They are the 8th state to do so. It will go in effect next August for the new school year. Jessica Jin is a student at UT Austin, and she set up a Facebook page called Campus Dildo Carry Event for the first day of school next fall after the law goes into effect. Over 1,000 people have joined her in a plan to protest the law by strapping dildos to their backpacks with the slogan, "Cocks, not Glocks." Jessica wrote, "The state of Texas has decided that it is not at all obnoxious to allow deadly concealed weapons in classrooms. However, it does have strict rules about free sexual expression to protect your innocence. You would receive a citation for taking a dildo to class before you would get in trouble for taking a gun to class. Heaven forbid the penis." I love that, and it's really important. The University of Texas chancellor is a man named William McRaven. He is a former Navy SEAL admiral. He led one of the raids that killed Osama bin Laden, and he has said campuses aren't the place for guns. He said, I have been shot at before, so I know what and how people react when they are being shot at. So if you aren't trained in that environment, you probably aren't going to react the way people think you will react naturally. I loved her juxtaposing the point of his statements with the sort of puritanical sexual approach with this campaign, and I hope to see thousands of dildos at UT next year.
I do too. I have one that I use as a bracelet holder. I will donate to anybody who wants. Okay, I was when I was in Atlanta, I got to see the crosswalks, and as you know, there's been some controversy.
The rainbow crosswalks.
The rainbow crosswalks. There's a picture of me, I think, if you can find it, where I'm standing in it. It was kind of gorgeous and a beautiful ceremony, and I thought it brought a lot of attention to this area and to Pride. And Wes Berry was who is a part of Joining Hearts that's bringing me into Atlanta to do a benefit for them, was a big part of having this happen with the GoFundMe and everything. But of course, there has been some controversy about it, and Wussy Magazine, online magazine in Atlanta, Julian Modugno had an article that said, "Fuck these Atlanta crosswalks." That was the title. And he's, well, congratulations, gay Atlanta. You finally accomplished something, finding homes for all those gay teen runaways. Nope, that's not it. Ending violence against trans women? Sorry, guess again. Painting a couple of crosswalks with rainbow colors for one weekend. That's right, you did it. You managed to paint some crosswalks. You must be so proud. You crowdfunded over $44,000 to paint some crosswalks. Roy G. Biv, what does that mean?
It's the rainbow. Did you not go to like chemistry and physics?
Oh, for a weekend.
It's the color Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue. Indigo,
Oh, I
violet.
see. Okay, I missed that in Zapata High School for a weekend before the city makes the organization responsible paint it back. It must be good affecting such temporary change. What kind of gay city would we be if we didn't follow the same tacky trend of these other cities? $44,000 is a lot of money. In comparison, Lost in Youth, an organization that is trying to end LGBTQ teen homelessness, is currently raising funds to build a new shelter, and they are also asking for crowdfunding. I'm sure you gays who love rainbow crosswalks are donating in droves to that one. Next time Ma and Paul Huckabee decide it's time to drive their sissy little son into the city and dump him there before he embarrasses them by lisping through another snake handling ceremony, at least when his ass hits the cold, wet pavement, there will be an uplifting rainbow crosswalk there to let him know he's accepted. Granted, he won't have a shelter to go to, but hey, priorities. Now gay runaway teens will have a beautiful crosswalk to desperately panhandle next to before gay business owners shoo them away. Whoa.
Now, I have several thoughts on this. First, it's funny. It's funny. It's funny written. Second, I understand his point. However, I find this kind of point exhausting when people tell other people that their priorities aren't good enough. Like, I don't find that's ever helpful. It's one thing. It's like, it's sort of the idea of like, well, none of us should ever go see movies or buy nice clothes or anything because we could give that money to curing cancer or AIDS. There's an element of like, if we're not always doing the most important thing, then what you're doing is invalid. I find that argument in any sort of social debate sort of exhausting and eye-rolling. That's great. And I looked, he's right. The Lost and Found in Atlanta, they're doing a crowdfunding campaign, and they only have $22,000. And I think his point was to be offensive, to draw attention to that campaign.
Which he did, and I have to applaud him for that. I mean, but you don't have to tear something else down to make that point. You could say, hey, guys, they raised $44,000 for a crosswalk that may be going down. And there was controversy about that because it seems like the city reneged from what we reported on before.
Right.
And so right now, I want everybody, because I'm friends with Wes Berry, and I applaud him for what he did. And I wrote him this morning, and he wrote this back to me. He says, we are currently trying to pressure the city to keep them as a permit for temporary installation ends on October 16th. Read my Facebook updates on why I believe it's important they remain. And his Facebook update said, I've remained relatively quiet on some, as some have dismissed this project as not worthy of the funds, etc. But here is why I disagree and why I chose to help with this vision. This project is more than rainbow-colored crosswalks. It is a political campaign of symbolic activism. The allowed installation of these crosswalks is the first time the city of Atlanta has recognized the LGBT community in such a public way. To do so on a permanent basis would be a huge win for our community and open doors for other political wins, this project will also allow opportunities for other LGBT organizations to reach out to and engage in a new supportive audience. We have a petition that he started. It's almost to their goal to present to the city council. So
then let's also put up the Lost and Found
I
website.
have it too. Also have the Lost and Found and I was going to say that next. And when I was there, I actually gave to them, and when I came back, I contacted Lost and Found even before all of this, and I asked them what I could do to help because I love that organization. Thanks to Daniel, who brought attention to it to me, and I sent them a bunch of your DVD cast signed by Southern Baptist Sissies for auctioning and a lot of other DVDs. So yes, please, please, please remember Lost and Found, and then and in that, I just want to thank the author of this snarky little article for having us do this story so that we can bring attention to Lost and Found as well. Because there's more than one thing out there, people.
And that is the real point. That the visibility that things like the crosswalks bring allows the opportunity for fundraising for organizations like Lost and Found in Atlanta, because the more visibility you have, the easier it is to raise funds. But I also think in his snarky nonsense, it's a good challenge to say if we can raise $44,000 for some paint, we should be able to at least raise that much, and their campaign is only at half of that. So it's a good challenge.
In that, it's a good challenge, but you don't have to throw the campaign under the bus and just crunch it and kill it. No. That it was. I get it. So, all right. What else?
Well, in other news, it was announced this week that Playboy is no longer including naked women in their magazine starting in March, which I find sort of hilarious.
Okay, next. No, I'm kidding.
Because there were lots of young gay boys like me who, sitting with their friends, looking at a Playboy that somebody stole from somebody's dad, realized for the first time, I'm just not interested in that. And
I love the way you circle back to make this about gay.
Well, yes, that was the reason I included it. I still remember sitting at my friend Zach's house. His dad had a stack of them, like 3.5 feet tall, in the back of their closet. When they would leave, he would pull them out, and I was always like, okay. I mean, it's interesting. Like, she's pretty, but
that is hysterical. Because when I read, I have to give Emerson such props for putting our show together every week, and I just don't ever have the heart to say we shouldn't do this story. But when I read that, I was going, "What is this?"
Also, it could matter to lesbians.
Oh, okay, yes, okay, all right. Forgot that. I'm so sorry.
I mean, I made the story about me, but the reason you thought it wasn't relevant was about you.
That's exactly right. I am a selfish motherfucker. All right, let's move on to Campbell's Soup, Gay Dads. I love this commercial. We have it in the newsroom. I mean, in the chat room. But ahead of the December release of Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Campbell's Soup just released a half-minute-long commercial, which is adorable, by the way. And for their Star Wars theme soup, which features a gay couple and their son. In the ads, actors David Monahan and Larry Sullivan, who's a friend of mine, who are married fathers in real life, offer Darth Vader and Chewbacca impressions to entertain their young son, Cooper. It's such a lovely reflection of the life of a modern family. Perfect timing, perfect fitting for made for real life campaign. And so lots of positive responses to this. But of course, the 1 million moms who are
73,000 of them
who just passed 80. No, they just passed 80.
Oh,
80,000. They're over 80,000 on Facebook. The 1 million. Anyway, they wrote a. I'm not even going to read their statement.
They got upset again.
They said, "No, we don't like it."
I'm sorry. That's why Campbell Soup is good.
Yeah.
All right. In exciting trans news, we've been following the story of Adian Dowling, the trans man who was in the contest to win the Men's Health cover. Adian did not win the cover. He made it to the final 5, however, and is featured with the other 4 finalists on a special collector's edition. And this was my favorite part. Men's Health editor-in-chief Bill Phillips said, Adian got us thinking about what it means to be a man in 2015. He's becoming a leading voice of the transgender community, and we feel privileged to share his story and to count him as a member of the Men's Health family. So he didn't win, but huge in the world when you think of men's fitness and men's health. And then second, California Governor Jerry Brown signed groundbreaking legislation last week that provides new protections for transgender foster youth in California. The first of its kind in the nation, it ensures that all foster youth, both trans and cisgender, are placed in safe, accepting homes, according to a statement from the office. The law explicitly requires caregivers and state agents to take a young person's gender identity into consideration when placing foster foster children. So that's really amazing.
And then
Checking in with
crazy. Well, we've got
Crazy.
Ben Carson
Again.
who is who's second in the polls for the Republican nomination. Continues on his same-sex rant on a radio interview. He said, "I resolved that issue by asking one question. I'm a very reasonable and tolerant person, and I have nothing against gay people whatsoever. What position can a person like me take who has nothing against people but believes in the traditional biblical definition of marriage that is acceptable to them?" Then he and the host went down that rabbit hole of polygamy, and he said polygamy is the natural next question, and he said, and it goes on from there. Effectively, what it does is take away from the traditional family that we've known for thousands of years, but it also negates an important part of the Word of God. If you can do that with one part of the Word of God, you can do it with the rest of it too. Toss the whole thing in the garbage.
Well, Ben Carson, lots of disrespectment in this statement. Lots of people have tossed it all in the garbage.
Yes.
That's not the way our government works.
And I'm pretty sure that Ben Carson, I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, has taught, the Bible got slavery wrong too.
I'm just saying.
Yes. And so many scriptures that
we already tossed part of it in the garbage.
So we tossed that in the garbage, Ben Carson. So, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Fuck you. All right.
And finally, what's gay in sports ball? Exciting news. The very first Division I basketball coach, Chris Burns of Bryant University, came out this week. That's a really big deal because when you talk about NCAA sports, behind football, it's basketball. So that's a really big deal. And an interesting PS note, his college boyfriend was a guy named Anthony Nicodemo, who I actually found on Periscope because of a Huffington Post article. And so he also wrote for Outsports this week about how exciting it was to see his college boyfriend now come out of the closet. He coaches at a high school in New York, but his ex-boyfriend, who just came out as a big NCAA coach. So it was really cool connection.
We've got a nice picture of him. And finally, just two quick things for me. I love numbers, as you said, and we got our numbers in. And thank you all who have downloaded us on iTunes and watch us live or listen to us live. We increased our ratings by over 1,000 a week, and our downloads increased almost 3,000. So keep doing that and keep spreading the word, because we're still the #1 show on UBN. Tonight I will be at Hamburger Mary's playing with balls. Yes, I'm going to be calling bingo. So y'all come down and we're going to support the 2 Cents Theater Company. Theater is what started my career, and I'm always happy to give back to that. And I will see you next week. What else, Emerson? We got anything else to say?
That's it. As always, find us on the
next.
Facebook. Send us your thoughts on Twitter. Let us know what you thought of today's show, what you loved, what you hated. We'll post posts on both of our Facebook page. Thanks for listening. Up next, On Air with Tony Sweet. And then after that, Jasper Cole. And then our dear, darling, wonderful, audacious redhead friend, Miss Ann Walker. Thanks for listening.
Who will be a good maid of honor.
Yes!
We'll see you next week.
UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows. It's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more.